So we are starting the new system in histology, reproductive system, female reproductive system histology. So you all know what are the internal organs, external organs, accessory organs in a female reproductive system. Quiet please. So in internal genitalia, organs are ovaries, uterine tube, uterus, vagina, along with the pregnancy-related structures, placenta and umbilical cord. External genitalia, mons pubis, labia majora, minora, clitoris, vestibule, vaginal openings. And the accessory sex glands, mammary glands, skin glands, Bartholin glands. So what we will be discussing in this lecture are the histology of the ovary, fallopian tube and the uterus. So how they are interrelated to each other? So what happens at ovary? Production of ova, which is taken up by the fallopian tube, and then the fertilization also occurs in the fallopian tube, and the uterus solves the purpose for implantation of the fetus. So development of the fetus will take place in the uterus. So ovaries perform two functions, gametogenesis as well as the production of the hormones. Hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and in gametogenesis, production of the ova. What is the shape of ovary? It is almond shaped with a size of 3 cm, 1.5 cm width and 1 cm thickness. Now in this histological picture, you can see this one single section is containing multiple sizes of circular follicles. So they are ranging from 0.1 micron meter to 10 millimeter. So every follicle in this structure is different. So outermost layer is there, cortex is there, medulla is there, and every follicle has to be studied. So you should be knowing everything about a single circle structure that is present in the ovary. First thing is germinal epithelium, that is the outermost lining. Here is the germinal epithelium. What is the lining epithelium? Can you please stand up? All three of you. Please stand up. So as the name is suggesting, germinal epithelium. What do you think? No. Name से तो नहीं पता चल रहा ना, cuboidal है. So it's a misnomer. That is give rise to the germ cells. It doesn't give rise to the germ cells. From where does the germ cells come? From the yolk sac. So germinal epithelium is just the covering, outer covering of the ovary is the germinal epithelium, which is cuboidal epithelium. So first epithelium you have to remember is the cuboidal epithelium. So in this insert you can see this is the cuboidal epithelium. So if I enlarge this picture, you can easily recognize that the height and width of this epithelium is equal along with the centrally placed round nucleus. So it is cuboidal epithelium which is lining the outermost covering of the ovary. Next is the tunica albuginea. Underneath this germinal epithelium, if you see a slide of the connective tissue present over here, this is the tunica albuginea layer. So it is a loose connective tissue present underneath the Rahul. Please stand up. खड़े हो जाओ. Then next comes the cortex and medulla. So cortex is containing all the follicles, while the medulla is containing the nerve, vessel, lymphatic. Though cortex and medulla is not very well defined in the ovary, but still if the more of the follicles they are present towards the cortex, and the centrally placed line here, if you can appreciate, these are the circular structures, these are the vessels and the nerves which are present in the center, and more of at the outer side you can see the follicles. So this region is the cortex region and this is the medulla. So here is the medulla. Now this is just a summary of germinal epithelium, tunica albuginea, cortex and medulla. What does it contain? खड़े होके भी हंसी आ रही है, बाहर जाओ. So germinal epithelium is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. Tunica albuginea has a loose connective tissue underneath the germinal epithelium. Cortex contains the ovarian follicles of different sizes ranging from the primordial follicle and goes to the corpus luteum and corpus albicans. Then the medulla, loose connective tissue along with the nerve, vessels and the lymphatics. Now I will be covering each of the follicle one by one. So ovarian follicle, where the oogenesis will occur, so they will contain the developing follicle starting. You should know the names of these follicles. They are primordial follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle, Graafian follicle, corpus luteum, corpus albicans, atritic follicles. बैठ जाओ. So first will be the primordial follicle. Then comes the primary follicle. Then if it increases in size, it will become secondary follicle. Again the increase in size, increase in the number of follicular cells, make it Graafian follicle. Release of ova. Then the left out structures with the follicular cells, they are the corpus luteum, and degenerating corpus luteum is the corpus albicans. So the smallest one, primordial, you can very well appreciate how the number of cells are increasing around the ova. This centrally placed structure, this is the ova, not the nucleus. So the centrally placed is ova, and around this structure is the epithelium, which is called as the follicular cell. So size of the follicular cell, you can see it is increasing from primordial to primary, and the number is increasing from the secondary. So from one single layer, it is becoming multi-layer in the secondary. So stratification will start from secondary, goes till tertiary Graafian follicles. So number of follicular cells, they are increasing. So first comes the primordial follicle. How you will identify a primordial follicle? Any follicle which is containing a ova along with the outer covering which is of squamous epithelium. Flattened epithelium, if it is covered by, it is called as primordial follicle. So I can show you very well that this is the squamous epithelium around this ova. So this is the primordial follicle. And if you see this follicle, the cell size is changing, it is becoming cuboidal. So squamous to cuboidal. So follicular cell size is changing, nucleus size is changing, but if it is a squamous, it will be the primordial follicle. So the characteristic features of the primordial follicle are ova, which is covered by the follicular cells which are squamous in nature. If it is covered with the flattened epithelium, it is primordial follicle. Next is the primary follicle, which is underneath, after this primordial follicle comes the primary follicle. So size of this follicular cells as well as the size of the follicle will increase. Second last row. So that is called as the primary follicle. Now in the primary follicle, what happens? The zona pellucida develops. So where does the zona pellucida develop? In between the ova and the follicular cells. Follicular cells in the primary follicle will multiply to form the stratum granulosum, and the epithelium has changed to cuboidal epithelium. Now those follicular cells which have multiplied, they divide themselves into the two layers, the follicular cells internal and internal. Now they have been given a name, theca interna and theca externa. So in this picture, we can clearly, this is clearly visible that this follicular cell layer has been differentiated, and this is theca interna towards the inner side, and towards the outer side is theca externa. This is very easy to remember. What else happens is the size increases and leads to the formation of secondary follicle. So till the primary follicle, theca externa, theca interna has been formed. Now the cells which are surrounding the follicle, the cells which are around the ova, they differentiate on the two sides. One towards the cavity. One thing is cavity is developing in the secondary follicle. The small numerous cavities they develop and they fuse to form one single cavity which is called as antrum. So this is follicular antrum which is present in the secondary follicle. So which is developed because of the fusion of small cavities inside the growing follicular cells. Now this pushes the ova from the center towards the periphery. This ova is pushed towards the one side. Now when it is reaching towards the one side, the cells which are towards the antrum and towards the outer side, they are called cumulus oophorus cells. Now this cumulus oophorus cells which are towards the antrum, they are named as cumulus oophorus, while the one which is on the outer side, they are called as discus prolix. क्या हुआ? The one that is towards the periphery, it forms the discus proligerus. So you should remember these two names. Cumulus oophorus is towards the cavity and discus proligerus is towards the outer side. That is in touch with the theca interna. Now these cumulus oophorus cells, in the future, they are going to form the corona radiata. As the size of secondary follicle is increasing, it is increased up to the 125 micron meter diameter. Along with this, there is secretion of oocyte maturation inhibitor from the granulosa cells. What does this oocyte maturation inhibitor does? It arrests the growth of the follicle. So ovulation will not take place. Next comes the Graafian follicle. Now if it matures, it will reach to the Graafian follicle stage, which is 10 millimeter in size. Follicular antrum is also increasing in size, so that is this cavity is increasing in size. And the cells that are towards the antrum, now they have formed the corona radiata. Then what are the factors due to which the ovulation occurs? Ehlers surge. What does Ehlers surge lead to? It leads to the increase in the volume of the follicular fluid. So the antrum follicular fluid increases. If it increases, it puts pressure in the cavity. Then the plasminogen, it causes the proteolysis of the follicular cells. If the follicular cells will get destroyed or degenerated, then only the ova will be released. And the prostaglandin induced smooth muscle contractions of the theca externa layer will occur. So because of these three things, Ehlers surge is going to stimulate all these things through which the ovulation will occur. Now if the ovulation occurs, then the ova will be released and the rest of the part along with the cavity and the granulosa cells will form the corpus luteum. Now this corpus luteum is containing the granulosa cells and theca lutein cells. So outer peripheral cells, they are called as the theca lutein cells. And the cavity, it will become smaller in size. Later on, this corpus luteum or luteal gland, it will degenerate. If the fertilization doesn't occur, the corpus luteum will undergo the degeneration, leading to the formation of corpus albicans. So this is the histology of the ovary only. So I will repeat this once again. So if you see the picture of one single picture here of the ovary, so outermost layer is the germinal epithelium and is of cuboidal epithelium. Next is the connective tissue underneath the germinal epithelium. It is the tunica albuginea. Underneath that you have small follicles. Now you can also see the sizes are very small. These are all primordial follicles which are very small in size and are covered with the flat epithelium, squamous epithelium. Then comes the primary follicle. The primary follicles. So the primary follicles, they become the cuboidal. Though you cannot appreciate it here, you can appreciate the size and the shape of the cells in this picture, that these follicular cells are cuboidal in nature. Then the secondary follicle. Secondary follicle size again increases So these are the secondary follicles which are having the antrum. If the cavity is present, it will be called as the secondary follicle. Now the size of the secondary follicle and the Graafian follicle is not similar. It will again increase in size, and the Graafian follicle so this is the size of the Graafian follicle where the cavity has increased and the follicle has been pushed to the periphery. So this is Graafian follicle. This is the corpus luteum where the ova has been released, and this is the degenerating corpus albicans. But in the section of the ovary, then you will see the histological picture in the lab. So you will see the corpus luteum like this and corpus albicans like a smaller structure which is fibrosed. So this is the corpus albicans, while the corpus luteum is an irregular shaped structure which is not containing the ova. So I hope you will understand the slide of ovary in the lab. Now this is a summary that we have covered. How does each follicle look like? What does each follicle contain? So primordial follicle contains primary oocyte along with the epithelium that is flat. Then primary epithelium, mobile से अंदर रख दोगे तुम लोग. Then the primary follicle, what does it contain? Primary oocyte and the presence of zona pellucida along the follicular cells which has changed the shape. Cuboidal epithelium. Secondary, antrum is present. Majorly it differentiates multiplication follicular cells. It occurs start from the primary, but it is well differentiated in the secondary. Then secondary contains the primary oocyte with granulosa cells. Large ventures, can you see the slide and speak up? Secondary follicle contains Graafian follicle contains corpus luteum has corpus albicans. Okay, so you will remember what happens in ovary. What are the different structures? पूछ लूं किसी से भी? Last row. Stand up. No. One with the earphones. This looks very bad. If you don't want to attend the class, you can stay out. Many of you are doing the same thing, and repeatedly you are doing this. Summarize the ovary. Come and sit here. Arnab, sit properly. Next, coming to the fallopian tubes, which are also called as the uterine tubes. Now they are called as the mucomuscular tubes. It has mucosal folds. It has muscle fibers. Now what is missing in this is, now if you see this slide, I am naming the layers which are present. You have to tell me what is absent over here. So this is the inner side of the fallopian tube. So if I go from inside to outside, what are the layers? This is the mucosal folds. What does mucosal fold bear? It has the epithelium, it has the connective tissue. Underneath that, it has a muscle layer. Very nice. So submucosa is absent along with the muscularis mucosa. So there is only the folding of epithelium with the presence of the lamina propria. Submucosa is not there, muscularis mucosa is not there, just the muscle fibers they are present. The two layers of the muscle fibers, circular and longitudinal, and the outer one is covered with the serosa. This is the picture of the fallopian tube. Now it has mucosa, muscle coat and serosa. I'll come back to this again. So mucosa consists of the thin projecting longitudinal folds that fill the lumen, and this mucosal fold is bearing the epithelium. What is the epithelium here is columnar epithelium, and this is ciliated epithelium. Where else you have seen this epithelium? कहीं और देखा था अभी तक? Trachea is containing pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. What is the purpose of cilia? Push in one direction. Now what happens here in it not pushes in one direction, it pushes in two directions. So it has a bidirectional movement. Coming back here, so it is ciliated simple columnar epithelium and multiple mucosal folds are there. Now these cells, they are not only having the ciliated columnar epithelium, it is also having non-ciliated cells, which are called as the PEG cells, PEG. So these are the secretory cells of the fallopian tube. So mucosa is containing two types of cells. One is ciliated columnar epithelium, other is non-ciliated epithelium. So ciliated is the mucosal layer, epithelial layer, while this PEG cells, they are non-ciliated, they perform the function of secretion. So you have to identify the PEG cells also, which are darker stained than and they are also not having the cilia. Then the muscle layer consists of the circular coat and the longitudinal coat. Serosa is covered by the outermost peritoneum, which is connective tissue, and the mesothelium. So you can easily identify in this picture the mucosal folds, the muscle layers and the serosa. So it is a very easy slide to identify the fallopian tube. So this is the summary of the fallopian tube. It is a mucomuscular tube with a mucosa, muscle coat and the serosa. Mucosa containing the ciliated and non-ciliated epithelium. Non-ciliated epithelium, it is called as the PEG cells. Muscle layer, it is inner circular, outer longitudinal. Serosa, peritoneal coat with the mesothelium. What is mesothelium? Peritoneal lining is called mesothelium. Right. So it is also squamous epithelium. Now the functional correlation of the cells that are present in the fallopian tube, it has bidirectional transport. Why it is said that it has a bidirectional transport? Because it transports the sperm towards the ampulla for the fertilization. What is the place of fertilization? Ampulla. So it will push the sperm towards the ampulla and it will push the ovum and the fertilized egg towards the uterus. Fertilization is occurring at the ampulla. Nutrition. Here the nutrition is provided by the secretions of the fallopian tube to the ova, to the sperm and to the fertilized ovum. On this we have already discussed that it doesn't have the muscularis mucosa and the submucosa. Next coming to the last topic of this lecture, uterus. So we have covered the ovary, which produces the ova, which is being taken up by the fallopian tube, which has parts, that is the fimbriae, ampulla, then the isthmus and the interstitial part that connects to the uterus. Then coming to the uterus, so uterus has the fundus, that is the upper part, then the body and the cervix. Now if we see the histology picture of the uterus, it has three layers: endometrium, myometrium and perimetrium. So which one is inner, which one is outer? सेकेंड लास्ट रो, बाहर चले जाओ, कंटिन्यूसली क्लास में बातें कर रहे हो, चले जाओ. Middle row, second last. Stand up. So which one is inner and get out of the class, please. So which one is inner and which one is outer? Perimetrium is outer. So I am starting from the outer one, that is the perimetrium. And what do you understand by myometrium? Muscle layer. So names are self-descriptive. Perimetrium, it is covering the outer side, that is the periphery. So it is covered by the perimetrium, which is divided into two layers. That is the serosa. The outer layer is covered with the mesothelium. Underneath that there is a vascular connective tissue. Basically it is the binding connective tissue that is present from the mesothelium towards the myometrium. So outermost is the simple squamous epithelium, mesothelium. Next, this picture is defining the each of the layers. So this is the endometrial layer from here till here. Next you can see the muscle wall, which is called as myometrium. And this peripheral part, this is the perimetrium. Now myometrium is not constitute of skeletal muscle, right? It consists of the smooth muscle because it is again the viscera. So it consists of the रुचिन क्या प्रॉब्लम है? आगे बैठ जाओ आगे. So this is the thickest layer, and what happens to this thickest layer in pregnancy? नहीं अभी पहले डेवलपमेंट हो जाने तो कॉन्ट्रैक्शन करा दो पहले. So there is hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the muscle layer. So smooth muscle cells, they will increase in size as well as they will increase in number. So what is hypertrophy? Is increase in the size, but hyperplasia is increase in the number of the smooth muscle fibers. So both of the conditions, they happen in the normal situation, that is pregnancy. So myometrium increases in size during the pregnancy. And one thing is that the layer has not been divided into circular, longitudinal, oblique. They are very ill-defined layers. The muscle fibers, they are running in every direction. So you don't have to remember here that inner is circular, outer is longitudinal. So here it is not a well-defined pattern, rather it is a ill-defined pattern of muscle fibers which are present in the myometrium. Next is the endometrium, which is the most important part of the uterus, because this endometrial layer, it keeps on changing from the proliferative phase to the secretory phase to the menstrual phase. So this is the change that we have to learn how this is seen in the slide. So mucosal lining of the uterus is endometrium, which is actually the simple columnar epithelium. Now this simple columnar epithelium is also present in the GIT. Again it was forming the glands there. Here also it is forming the glands. So uterine glands, they are formed of a simple columnar epithelium, which starts from the simple tubular glands, ends to the coiled tubular glands. So endometrial changes according to the cycle. So first phase, that is the follicular phase, proliferative phase, or the pre-ovulatory phase, where the preparation of the uterine wall is occurring. So endometrial shows the changes under the influence of estrogen. Secretory phase, it changes in the endometrium because of the presence of progesterone. And in the menstrual phase, both follicular and secretory phase hormones, they disappear. So the endometrium sheds off. Now first thing is that you should be knowing what are the different layers in the endometrium. There are two layers, stratum functionale and stratum basale. So this is the basal layer which is towards the myometrium. Least number of changes are going to happen in the stratum basale in the endometrium. Rather, whatever the changes in the size of the glands, arteries, it will happen only in the stratum functionale. So basal layer of the endometrium is not going to change. Only the first layer, that is the functional layer, is going to change, which is constituted by stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum. So two layers, they keep on changing, they keep on growing and keep on shedding off. So stratum compactum is the superficial layer which contains the neck of uterine glands. Stratum spongiosum is the middle layer which consists of the loose areolar tissue and also the arteries, vessels, nerves which are contained in the spongy zone. Stratum basale is the deep layer which is lying adjacent to the myometrium. This layer is very difficult to understand. So if you don't understand, please let me know. I will explain it once again. Then the histological changes which will occur phase-wise. So first, proliferative phase, which starts after the menstrual cycle. So if you can see this picture, so if we come to this picture, this is the endometrial lining in the post-menopausal period. What happens in the proliferative phase? Estrogen is trying to build up and reform the endometrial layer in the proliferative phase. So there is the development and the recovery of the endometrium during the proliferative phase. So what happens here is the repair of the damaged endometrium by the proliferation of the stratum basale, because it was the only layer that was left. आज सबको क्लास से बाहर जाना है. हनु खड़े हो जाओ. हाँ, और उसके बाद जो दो हैं वो भी खड़े हो जाए. So glandular epithelium proliferates to cover the entire endometrium. So glands become straight and narrow lumens. So in this phase, the glands, they are very simple. They are just folding inside and forming the simple tubular glands. There is no coiling of the glands that is taking place here because the size is not increasing. Rather, there is a preparation of the cells is occurring because of the proliferation of the stratum basale. Endometrial stroma proliferates to make endometrium 3 to 4 millimeter thick. Spiral arteries, they start elongating. Next, coming to the secretory phase, which is under the secretion of the progesterone. Now here you can appreciate this is the early secretory phase. The size of the simple tubular glands is increasing, it is going deep, and here they have increased so much in size that they have coiled. So now they are coiled as coiled tubular glands. They are simple tubular glands and they are coiled tubular glands. So secretory part in the simple tubular glands is simple folding of the cells. The U-shaped folding was a secretory part in the simple tubular glands. But in the coiled tubular glands, the secretory portion is coiled. So folding of this epithelium occurs, which is called as coiled tubular glands. The uterine glands, they are becoming more coiled and more tortuous. Now this gives it the appearance of sawtooth. Next, the spiral arteries, they become more tortuous. So we can see here, these are the coiled arteries which are present towards the stratum spongiosum, and these are the tortuous uterine glands which are present in the stratum functionale. बैठ जाओ. The vascularity of endometrium is increasing because the spiral arteries, they are increasing in number. So vascularity to provide the nutrition for the preparation of the endometrium, so it increases. Then the uterine fluids also starts accumulating in the stroma and makes it edematous and thick. Now this reaction is called as decidual reaction. Next comes the menstrual phase. Because of the absence or low levels of the estrogen and progesterone, the layer that has been formed, that has been grown in the, so it becomes, it starts shedding off. So this results in decreased blood supply to the glands, which causes ischemia, release of prostaglandins, proteolytic enzymes, and leading to the bleeding. Epithelium of stratum compactum and basale, it remains intact because these layers, they are supplied by the straight arteries, not the spiral arteries. So this is the shedding of phase where the epithelium becomes degenerated. Now these are the glands. If you can appreciate, this is the end of the menstrual phase. Then regenerating endometrium in the post-menstrual phase. This is the endometrium of the proliferative phase where the simple tubular glands are starting to form. Then early secreted phase where the growing of the tubular glands occurs, which later on becomes the tortuous. This is a histological picture that you will be seeing in the lab also. How these two layers, one single layer is different in the two phases. So the size of the endometrium, you can compare the size of endometrium, how much difference it is. It is appreciable difference in the proliferative phase and the secretory phase. So you can easily visualize the simple tubular glands which are folding of the epithelium. They are simple glands. While in the secretory phase, they are all coiled tubular glands which are going deeper towards the stratum spongiosum. As well as there is a number of increase in the size, number of spiral arteries also in the secretory phase. Next, this table summarizes how the changes they are occurring in the presence of the different hormones. So endometrial changes under the influence of estrogen, progesterone and low levels of progesterone and estrogen. So what happens if the estrogen level is high? The proliferative phase, that is from day 4 to 14th day, glands will become, what happens to the glands? What is happening here is the endometrial repair is happening.